Very quiet in the background.
Yeah.
This is the Positively Petland Show on 800 KXIC. Good morning. I'm Mark Pitts. Ron Solzwood with Petland of Iowa City is with us as well, checking on the pups that he brought into the studio. How are they doing?
They're doing good. I've worn them out. We have had quite an eventful morning getting around. Media day is what I call this. TV, radio, all around.
Making all the appearances.
Yeah.
All the top shows like this one.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So are the dogs that the puppies that you brought with, are they the breed of the week? Or
Actually, no. I selected poodles because we have not talked about poodles on air for a long time, and I said it's about time because this should be one of the most popular breeds out there, just because of all that a poodle represents: non-shedding, extremely smart, very playful. Also, and then comes in all different.
Good with ribbons in their hair.
Oh, you're going to learn about the poodle and why, like when you see the pictures of the AKC shows, how they're all poofy and stuff. Yeah. You're going to learn that has nothing to do with appearance. It actually has to do with hunting, which is what? So we're going to talk about that.
The poodle, the hunter dog.
Yes. Well, AKC, their photo of the breed. This shows a poodle with foul in its mouth.
Yeah, just
it's got a foul mouth. And we're going to talk about the foul mouth. That's our second segment, is talking about the CDC just came out with a study. And it was one of those moments. Like, are you kidding me? You guys had to publish something on this? So we've always said a dog's mouth is cleaner than our own, right? That's kind of the say, I grew up thinking that. I did have our children, because we own Petland, children wanted to do a science fair study thing, and they actually did swab tests on dog, cat, and people to find out which one just generally has more bacteria, and they definitely found the dog had a lot more bacteria than the rest of us. That's not to say, though, in that regard it's dirty. I mean, we all operate on bacteria. If we didn't have bacteria, we wouldn't be living. But the CDC got a new test on the Campylobacter, and they did some studies and quickly released some studies out there of, hey, we're finding it. And we're kind of all going, yeah, what did you think you were going to find? But you know what? The information is really critical, and there is some disease transferring from dogs, from pets to pets, and from pets to people. And there's really some simple ways that we can prevent a lot of that from happening. And so we're going to cover that. So the poodle and all about the dog's mouth.
Cleanliness of the dog's mouth.
Yes.
Truth or urban legend?
Urban legend, yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the store here before we get into the meat of the program. We'll have an amazing pet story here in just a bit, but tell us a little bit about Petland of Iowa City.
We're Petland of Iowa City, located at the Marketplace Mall. Do I even need to say Sycamore Mall, also known as, or used to be known as? I think as a city, we're kind of figuring all that out, even beyond. So we're in the Marketplace Mall, across from the parking lot of Lucky's Market, if you've discovered that really cool gem of Iowa City. And then our hours of operation today is Sunday, so we're open from noon until 6. All other days we're open from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. But today, Sunday, noon until 6. A lot of people come in just taking advantage of our buy 10, get 1 free dog food and cat food on all of it. We track it for you, so you don't even need to do anything. You just need to show up. You do need to pay for it. But when you get the free ones, streamers fall down, balloons come out, everybody's all happy and all that. Hey, I got some money to go out buy a pizza tonight.
He's fibbing.
Yeah, no balloons, but we do say yay.
It sounds great in the brainstorming session when you're when you're with the rest of the
staff, but when you go to do it,
gosh, how can we make it really special?
Yeah,
it would be real cool with balloons and streamers, but. Yeah,
it's usually, the customer gets extremely happy. Oh, that's so good. And then there's usually people in line that it's a little party for just 10 seconds, and then we all come down. So we do the buy 10, get 1 free on all of our dog and cat food. And then we also do the $5 nail trim. You can't beat a $5 nail trim. No appointments necessary. Just bring in your vaccination schedule and we'll take care of you.
Okay, that's Petland of Iowa City. Ron Solzwood is with us, and right now it's time for this.
It's time for the amazing pet story of the week.
All right. When police officer Patrick Doherty entered the home of Gary Roshheisen in December 2005.
That's a good German name.
Yeah, he was surprised by what he found. Roshheisen had fallen out of his wheelchair and was on the ground near his bed. His tabby cat, Tommy, lay next to the telephone on the living room floor. According to police, a 911 call had come from the apartment.
Whoa.
When the dispatch department heard silence on the line, they decided to check the home. Roshheisen later said he had tried to teach Tommy to call 911 years before.
Oh, he did.
But was unsure whether it worked until that day.
You never know until you got to move into action. I've heard of dogs doing this, but never a cat.
Tommy the tabby saving the day. Now, that sounds like a story there. One, truth or urban legend?
Yeah,
maybe that's the story that kind of grows over time. But again, the police were involved, so it's got to be true.
Yes, because I am a cat owner, and all of us cat owners wonder, okay, if I die, does my cat really care? You know, and I think they do, because every time we come back from a vacation or something, Gilbert is all up in a lather. Our cat was 15, 16 years old, meowing all over the place. So I think they do care, and this is proof. Well, we unless it's urban legend.
Yeah, well, it brings up a good question though. You sometimes think, especially cats, kind of seem like they're off on their they've got their own little world that they live in.
Yeah.
But certainly dogs have shown time and time again that sometimes you just wonder whether or not they're really in tune with what's going on in the household. You just think they just want their treat when it's time to eat. When I can go out to go do my business. You're useful,
so I'll put up with.
But until that dire circumstance comes along, you don't know how what kind of senses for them, natural instincts take over. I mean, we've got a black lab, Josie, who's 12 now, and still very spry. And we've often said that she'll lick somebody to death before she would attack them or whatever.
Right.
But you don't know until if there was push came to shove, and you just wonder dogs, when they sense that danger, when again their natural instincts of protectiveness take over.
Yeah,
in those types of situations.
But I think all of us dog owners would say yes, that happens, because when we're wrestling around in the house and stuff like that, dogs going crazy.
Oh yeah,
because they think we're fighting, but we're just having fun and all that.
Right.
And so that always gives me a sense. That's why I always say, don't train a dog to be mean or bite or anything like that. They'll jump into action when need be. And I hear that story over and over again. That and when this happened and all that, it's just neat to see that a cat did that. That's pretty cool.
You know what? That reminds me. We should put out a plug for this more often, an invitation for people to share their amazing pet stories with us. We'd love to hear from Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, and such. And you can send that information to news@kxic.com. Okay, news@kxic.com. Share with us your amazing.
Hey, let's put something more out there. If you share that story and we share it on the air, I'll throw in a free bag of dog food, small bag of dog food that you can just come in and get, and we'll work with you. So make sure you put your phone number, and obviously we'll have your contact email and all that, so that we can get that back to you. So if you do that, if you share that story with us, we put it on the air, you're going to get a free bag of food.
All right, so share those with us. News@kxic.com. This is the Positively Petland Show. I'm Mark Pitts. Ron Solzwood with Petland of Iowa City is here. I'm going to turn him loose on the audience solo here for the next segment. But as we go to break here, Ron, again, give us a tease as to what's coming up on the show, our breed of the week, and anything else that you're going to discuss with everybody.
So breed of the week is Poodle. We're going to discover that. Is that the right breed for you? And we'll go through descriptions from the AKC, so you get some firsthand knowledge there. And then we're going to go into the question of, is the dog's mouth really cleaner than ours? We're going to find out. I'm going to, spoiler alert, no, it is not. And there are some precautions that you need to take. So we're going to talk about what am I talking about there, the history of it. Is this anything new? No, it's not, but we're going to go into that. And then how to reduce exposure and prevent us from catching things that our dog might have.
All right. Positively Petland Show with Ron Solzwood continues after this on 800 KXIC.
out there should be fearless, at least saying.
Alrighty. I will start this with recording with the music, Dad, and then I'm just going to give you a cue when you're ready to go. Okay?
All right. Hey, it is the PAWSitively Petland show. I do that fairly well, don't I? I think I've done that a couple of times. All right. So in this segment of the show, we're going to hit the poodle. Is that the right breed for your family? We want to try to help you answer that question. So we're going to describe the poodle. And you can also come into the store and play with the poodle. We're open from 12 today, Sunday, until 6 p.m. Come in and check it out, and the other breeds to find out, is that the right breed? A little known fact, people that come into our store looking for a specific breed actually find a different breed that they like even more, 70% of the time. It's kind of an interesting thing, but it's because we have that good variety of different breeds to look at. We get the books out so that you are educated on it and you make the decision. Is this the right one? And I will say that I think the puppy does all the work as far as swaying you. There's, because we'll get that breed that you asked for out, and there's something about it that just isn't quite right. And we ask you, what is it that you like, dislike, and all that, and then we try to match that with something that that you do click with, and then that's when the magic starts occurring. So it's a really unique experience that you have at Petland, because you get to look at so many different breeds. So let's look at the poodle, and I'm reading from the AKC book. This one, they actually do have two different categories. There's three categories of poodles, but they lump the miniature and standard together into one group, and then there's a toy as well. Now, I will say that in the poodle has been bred for many years. There is great predictability on standard and miniature, like I'm going to get a smaller dog kind of a thing on the miniature, and standards are that's the original, and they're going to stay that, there's when you get one, it's going to be relatively in that weight range that you're thinking of. The toy is where I've seen over the years gets a little all over the place as far as size. It's supposed to be smaller than the miniature, but sometimes those recessive genes come out and you get a little bigger one, more in the miniature range. So just to know that on the front end. Anybody that says, I guarantee the weight, well, I guess they can guarantee it. They'll give you your money back, but they can't guarantee that it actually is going to weigh anything. It's like life. For us as well. I am bigger than all my parents and my grandparents, and my brother is not far behind me, and so it's kind of like, well, wait, where did we come from? Well, it was a few generations ago, but there must have been some tall, lanky guys in the family. So the poodle, the history. This is fascinating. Evidence of the poodle's existence is in various parts of the world has been documented, making it difficult to determine the breed's true land of origin. While the poodle is supposed to have originated in Germany, the French have long regarded the breed as the national dog of their country, where it has been employed as hunting, retriever, companion, and circus performer. I don't think you see that as much anymore, although the Bichon is also in that boat. The Germans call the breed Pudel, P-U-D-E-L, the basis of the English word translating as to splash in water. So this is where I think it gets interesting what the original intent for that poodle was. And the French call the breed the Caniche, meaning duck dog. Okay, so now you're saying, oh, wait, water, duck. Hey, this is a hunting dog. I always thought the poodle was, that pretty, prancy, kind of a thing with a crazy cut. And that's, kind of a, I don't know, just somebody that's looking for that kind of a thing dog, not a hunting dog. Although it has become more stylized over the years, the poodle's unique trim developed for the all-terrain? Gosh, I've never seen that word. I think it's all-terrain purposes of retrieving in water. All right, so that cut that we see in the books of a poodle when it's all poofed out in different sections, you're going to now learn that's not for show, that's for go. The coat was clipped to facilitate easier and faster swimming. There is an intended purpose to every sculpted part of the dog's coat. For example, the mane to protect the heart and lungs, the rosettes to protect kidneys, the puffs to protect joints, and the tail to use as a rudder. The coat is dense and curly, long enough to freeze on top and remain warm and dry near the skin in cold weather. Warm and dry. I don't know about the dry thing. If you're in water, I can't imagine the water not being able to get close to that skin, but maybe it's just right off the skin there. But so it is a warming thing in the winter. So this is a hunting dog designed for the winter. Poodles have long been valued for their supreme versatility, capable of serving their own owners as herders, hunters, carting dogs, that I haven't seen that one, truffle hunters, and trick dogs. Today, the poodle's keen mind and versatility make him a top contender in obedience and agility trials. Although he also excels as a search rescue dog, therapy dog, and at least once as sled dogs in the Iditarod race in Alaska. Then kind of the final, I think they add to it here, the combination of intelligence, we'll talk a little bit more on that, a loyal, courageous, spirited temperament, and the appearance of power and elegance has kept the poodle a popular household companion. So I have at home a Maltese poodle, and so what I've experienced is the poodle is, that poodle portion of Susie is where the intelligence is. The Maltese is a very smart dog as well, but that poodle is one of those that is easy to train. So they'll pick it up really easily. Now, here's a little drawback to that. You'd go, well, gosh, that's exactly what I want. And it is easy. So if you are looking for that, that is. What I have found with our own dog, she is so smart. She'll make sure she's doing the right thing by testing boundaries, just like a child would test boundaries, so, oh, I understand that you don't want me to pee in this room. I get it. But how about in that other room? And then they'll test it over there. And then they'll say, oh, you don't want it in here as well. Okay. Then they keep on testing things to the point where they then generalize and say, oh, it's the house. I get it. So that's the way Susie worked with us. She learned really quickly that, you don't go in. We have a ranch style house, and she said, okay, I get it. I'm not supposed to pee on that top floor. We have that walkout basement thing, but she tested us for a little bit on, well, wait, what about down here? This is different, right? Because I'm out of that, the top floor area. So we had to incentivize her to pee outside. So we used a lot of treats. While she was urinating, we then put that right to her mouth, the treat, and while she was doing it, and she then started saying, oh, you want me to do it out here? I get it. it. I want that treat, so I'm going to come out there and do that every single time. So that's the smart dogs figure things out really quickly. They test the boundaries a little bit. I don't think they do it maliciously. I think they just do it as, hey, I'm a little smarter than the average dog, and I want to see if I can do it over here as well. So the Poodle is very smart in that way. It is a non-shedding breed, which is pretty dang cool. That is for those people that don't want to see that shed around the house. The Poodle is number 2, I think it is, on non-shedding. So the Bichon Frise would be the top one. Poodle is like almost right next to it as far as the amount of shed that it occurs. It would shed very similar to the way we shed, in that we lose our hair as well. Here, if you looked at me, you would go some more than others. There's not much hair on top anymore, and so the dogs shed these dogs shed in the general way that we do from time to time. So the Poodle's a non-shedder, so that means you're going to groom it. There is going to be a little bit more time taken then. I like for Susie, who has that Maltese Poodle, she has to go to the groomer then as a result, get that hair cut unless you want to do it yourself. And we find that about once a month to once a month and a half is what it takes to keep her under control. Her hair is not too long, so it's actually easy to brush out, easy to give baths. There's a little primping that we need to do around the eye and the rear end from time to time between cuts, just to keep her going. And that's about it. So you will gain on the no shedding aspect. If you have allergies, you're also going to want to look at the Poodle as an option. But you're going to spend a little bit more time on primping and all that kind of stuff. So, I guess I think I'm an average kind of person in that regard, and I don't mind the extra primping in the morning that I have to do. It's not that big of a deal. Comb her out a little bit. Primp her eyes, and you're good to go, kind of thing. Where Callie is our dachshund, a miniature dachshund, and she's like no maintenance whatsoever, and she's so small we really don't even notice the fur around our house. So that's a contrast to a shedding dog there. So the Poodle, described by AKC, and a little bit of a personal experience there, now you can start going, is that the right breed for our family? They come in toy, miniature, and standard. Miniature is by far the most popular one that you're going to see out there. Occasionally I see a toy Poodle out there. And then the standard, while that's the way I believe it was originated, that one you don't see as much. Right now, as we speak, I'm recording this show. We do have a Poodle in there right now on Sunday. I'm not sure if it still will be in, but I do have Poodles that I'm going to be picking up next week and the week after. So a standard Poodle is coming our way, apricot, if you're into that. So that's something you'll want to look forward to. Watch our website, petlandiowacity.com, for all of our available breeds and find out what do we have. And you even can do a little breed research. We've linked with the AKC, so we have breed information right on our website, petlandiowacity.com, and that is actually straight from the AKC. So it's a really good trusted source for where we get our information from as well. So that is the Poodle. Is it the right breed for you? So switching now gears over to the question, hey, I grew up, and I'm sure you guys did too, that a dog's mouth is cleaner than our own. Now, I know we all said it. I know I said it a bunch, but did we really believe it? Kind of thing. I always knew, it's not that I want to spend too much time in that mouth, kind of a thing, but I always knew that there was something more going on in that mouth. My kids even did a study while they were in grade school, one of those science fair projects, and this is a great science fair project for kids out there. The thesis is, or the question would be, is a dog's mouth cleaner than a human's? And that's what we proposed to answer. And then we did cotton swab tests. We worked with and there are local culture labs in our area here. We actually have in Iowa City many of them, but every town usually has a lab in there that is doing culturing for the doctor's offices. So you can contact your doctor and find out where do they do their culture tests locally. And what we did is we contacted them direct, and we said, if we took some cotton swabs of mouths, could you provide us with the Petri dishes with the gosh, I haven't said this in a while, I think it's called auger, and then can you incubate them for us? And that's exactly what they did. And then we were able to get back information on this is a general bacteria, what was the levels in there. And what we found in our study is the dog actually did have more bacteria in their mouth. That was one study, so that no conclusions can be made on it. But for our science fair study, we concluded that dogs do have more bacteria, and then we concluded that's the definition of not as clean, and so we said a human's mouth was cleaner than a dog's mouth. So that's one set. Okay, so now for the rest of us out there, all right, really, do we really think that dog's mouth is cleaner than our own? Where has that mouth been? Kind of thing. Okay, if you don't know this, all dogs eat poop. Every one of them will at least sniff it, lick it, and then a lot of them eat it. I know that's gross Sunday morning. Why are we talking about this? We're getting somewhere with this. So we know that happens. We also know that they're kissing us, and we always love the dog little kisses and all that kind of stuff. Occasionally they get them around our mouths and all that. A lot of it, is the cheeks and stuff like that. That is what we're finding we need to be cautious with our dogs, cats, and other animals in our household, our pets. So the way that they happen, or I get here another little tidbit. I guess I'm trying to set the story here. The CDC issued a report this week on Campylobacter in pets. And they discovered some preliminary findings that they found. There's new testing out there. And so they were testing specifically for Campylobacters. And they found that, and saw in other studies, in shelters, 75% of the dogs have Campylobacter. They're infected with it. Of all dogs, so this is even dogs that, wherever you got it from kind of a thing, 50% have them. That's while it's living in your house. So whether it got it from where it originated from or within your house, kind of thing. So what does that say? Dogs do have things. And by the way, Campylobacter is something that can affect us. And I'll define all that in a little bit. So dogs can transmit this to us, and we'll learn how they do it so that we can learn on how to prevent it as well. So know that we're talking to everybody out there. This is really not new news. It's just we're discovering it specifically, kind of like for the first time. And so more education then can come out of it, and we can be doing the right thing. So we're specifically talking about Campylobacter today. But you can translate most of this to salmonella. We've heard of that in the past, even in our food sources, even our vegetable food sources, we see bacteria that can affect us. And there's proper methods to take care of that. There's lesser known, Giardia is another one that can go from a dog to a human as well, and some other ones. So it's not that this is new news, even in that, hey, we can pick up some of this stuff. The good news in all of this, most of the things that our dogs and cats get, we can't get. Upper respiratories are not transferred back and forth. And if you want more specifics, talk with your veterinarian about that. And we're going to conclude this conversation with exactly that. Talk with your veterinarian if you're looking for more specifics on this stuff. So today, the Campylobacter is one of the most common illnesses within the United States. And the result is diarrhea. That's within us, that's within the dog as well. 1.3 million people are infected every year. So this is not an uncommon thing for us. The sources that we knew of all along is raw or uncooked poultry, or food that touched raw or uncooked poultry, or its juices. Another is raw or unpasteurized milk. Well, I think most of us are drinking pasteurized milk, so that shouldn't be an issue there. And then contaminated water. So that's why we don't just readily drink from streams. But with the water, let's think about that. How's the water getting this stuff? Well, it's getting there because the animals outside are pooping and peeing into the streams or by the streams, and then the streams pick it up. And that's how we would be another way we could pick it up. This is why we filter our water if we're hiking and all that kind of stuff. Or that's why we live within the city and we use treated water. That's why they put chlorine in the water for us, and that's the benefit. If we didn't do that, then we would get Campylobacter and other things infecting us and having diarrhea issues. This is why when we go international, we're always cautious on what is the how is the safety of the water source that we're drinking from. So it can come through water. That by far is how we get this. It's a very, very small portion that the CDC has found that come from our pets. And we're going to put that into good perspective right at the end of, well, what's the chances kind of a thing. But the fourth thing that the CDC is now coming out with is you can also get Campylobacter from animals and animal poop or stool. So these are the 4 ways that we can get it into our system. The Campylobacter has to come in through our mouth in order to catch this stuff. If you're catching on here a little bit on dogs, you got to have the dog poop come into your mouth in order for that to occur. And I know that's gross. And I know we're all going, well, that doesn't happen in my house. We're going to discover that it's unbeknownst to you. There's some very common ways that it happens. Symptoms is diarrhea, and you usually get it within 2 to 5 days after contact. So if you're seeing symptoms or you're seeing symptoms in dogs, this is the time when you always then go to the veterinarian for the dog or the pet or a doctor to get it tested, see if this is what you have. In most cases, it is not life-threatening, but it does point out that for those with lower immunity, illnesses and issues, that it becomes more significant to them and that you need to be more cautious around the public that has that weakened immune system. So that's a little bit about what the Campylobacter is. You can again translate this to other bacteria, protozoa, viruses that come into that are in our dogs and cats and other pets that we can also get. So moving on. So we talked about their mouth is not as clean as we thought. The shelters have one study showed that a shelter down south, 75% were infected. All dogs, whether they've been at your house for a long time or not, 50% have this in them, not always showing signs either. So they can have really nice solid stools, but still have it, therefore still infect you with it. So it's kind of one of those mysterious things that, hey, where did it come from? My dog is looking fine, or that other dog was looking fine and all that kind of stuff. Why is that? Why am I having these issues? Well, you still could have caught it from them. You just are not sure kind of thing. So exposure, let's talk about more specifically, how do our pets get exposed to it, and then how do we get exposed to it from our pets? So pet to pet, all right, my dog can't get this because it's living in my house. Well, let's talk more about that house that you're living in and how that you probably are, your pet is probably being exposed to it. So do you go to dog parks? Then the answer is your dog, well, if it was yes, that it is getting exposed to this on a regular basis, and a lot of other things. Dog parks have stools all throughout it, and they get exposed to it, and so they can pick it up readily at the parks. Hey, wait, I don't go to parks because I heard about this and I don't go there, or I had a bad experience, whatever it is. I just go for walks. Well, all right, when you go for a walk along your sidewalk, hey, don't you remember that dog sniffing, poking, licking, all that kind of stuff? Well, that's another place that they can pick it up. I went on Palisades Park. I went for a walk around the park last weekend, and afterwards went, kind of wonder how much I just exposed my dogs to on that run. Now, there wasn't much that I saw, but I just kind of questioned it. They got a bath when they got home and all that kind of stuff, so I try to minimize it. But they might have gotten exposed there. So all these different places. And then, hey, I don't do any of those. I got a small dog. The only place my dog goes out is the backyard. Ha! I'm safe then. Au contraire. Wild animals have this readily in their systems, and they're coming onto your property unbeknownst to you, or you get to see them and they're on there. They're pooping, they're peeing, they're letting this Campylobacter and others out in your lawn. Your dog, cat is now picking it up. So that's how the pet to pet, animal to pet occurs. So your dog is getting exposed to this for sure. Now, and then just think about, okay, so now they're also doing their business in your house. So then within your house, you have a great potential of this. So it's always important to clean it up and everything, because your other pets then can get it from that. So pet to pet. Now let's talk about pet to human. And we kind of started off this way. Mouth is not as clean as we thought, kind of a thing. So a pet's mouth contacting your mouth is an exposure then that you can now get that little piece of stool that they have all solubilized and now is in your mouth as well. So you want to minimize the exposure that you have to your dog where it's kissing your mouth. The two things that come out is that's the first exposure. That's number one for Americans. The second one is in our beds. The dog is in there. Their little butt is, kind of scooching around and all that kind of stuff. And that's another way then that stool matter can get into our mouths, and then we can get exposure to the Campylobacter and other things. And so you want to minimize that. I've been saying, we're America. We are never going to stop letting our dog kiss our mouth. That's who we are. We are never going to stop letting the dogs into our beds. That's just the way we are. That's American. Other nations look at us and go, we want to be like Americans. We want to do that kind of a thing. So you can minimize it though. So ways to minimize is plenty of hand washing. Their primary way is washing underwater with soap, detergents to get it off your hands. So that is primary. Secondary with washing is hand sanitizing. So using those alcohol wipes and gels and all that kind of stuff. But they still go back to getting it underwater and rinsing it off is the best by far. So always when you're back home, wash your hands. The second thing is baths for your dogs and for us. I think most of us are taking regular baths, so we're washing it off, and so that's minimizing it. But for our dogs, shampoos these days for dogs and cats are so safe. You can wash your dog every week. And if you think about it, we're taking baths every day. And our dogs and cats are only doing it once a week, once a month, once every other couple of months. There's a lot of stuff on those dogs and cats. And so by increasing the bathing of them, you are going to decrease the amount of exposure that you have. And then finally, clothing and bedding and all that kind of stuff, washing it on a regular basis. So if you come in contact with your dog and they're on your clothing, then that's a good thing for you to get into the laundry and get it washed. So those are ways to, sanitization is big on reducing exposure. Petland, we are all about sanitization. We have daily, regular, hourly sanitization procedures. We have hand sanitizers and sinks throughout our store so that you can wash your hands and all that. We wash all of the toys, all of the clothing that we wear every day, at least once a day. And if we get contact with poop on our garment, that then has to go into the washer right away. So we do a lot of sanitization within our store on a minute by minute basis. And then there's ways that we minimize exposure on how we sanitize our store as well. And that gets into some long, boring conversations. But know that Petland has been and always been taking huge precautions on exposures to you at our store. Talking with the CDC and understanding, what is the bottom line on this thing as far as exposure, and where should this be on my radar? If you look at the common sources of Campylobacter, it is far safer to play with a Petland puppy than it is to eat chicken. Chicken is the primary dominant way that we are getting Campylobacter and other things into our systems. Playing with our dogs and cats is a minor way that we're getting it. If you, though, are concerned, and you probably should up your sanitization a little bit, wash your hands, clean your clothes, give your dog a bath, are going to be your three primary ways of minimizing exposure. So that's the way to handle this situation. If you have questions, let's say you notice diarrhea in yourself or in your dog or cat, that's a great time to call a veterinarian. I asked Dr. Ebert yesterday, I said, what's the urgency? She said, well, that if you see diarrhea in your pet, especially if it's multiple stools, then you need to call your veterinarian right away and get in to see your veterinarian as soon as possible. So that's straight from a veterinarian. That's what you should do in that case. If you're experiencing it, go see your doctor and find out what is the best process to go through to let it run its course from their perspective. So see the doctor if you see symptoms. So that is the story, the whole story of Campylobacter. A dog's mouth, unfortunately, is not cleaner than our mouths, and we shouldn't be doing the contact time there. So that is our show. We talked about the poodle. Is that the right breed for your family? Then we switched over to sanitization, mouth cleanliness, and all sorts of stuff there. I hope this was beneficial to you, that you learned a lot today. Come into Petland. We're open from noon until 6 p.m. You can check us out on the web, petlandiowacity.com, if you want to learn more about us. If you want to learn where our puppies come from, petlandcares.com. All one words, no spaces and all that kind of stuff. Petlandcares.com goes through, hey, where does Petland get our store? You can also just come in, play, and we're going to answer those questions for you as well. We got presentations for you on that. We've got posters in our store that tell you our story and where we get all these great puppies from and those great breeders right here in Iowa. So that is the show. Open from noon until 6 today. All other days we're open from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. But today, Sunday, noon until 6. Come on in, play, take advantage of our buy 10, get one free on all of our dog and cat food, our $5 nail trims, and you can't go wrong there. So come on in. That's a wrap for the show today. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.